I wanted to share that this piece is from a musical called Children of Eden. And this song is sung by Cain, as in Cain and Abel. And this is post-expulsion from the garden. They are in the world, a world they didn't create, that they don't know anything about. That's a little scary for them. And there are a lot of questions that they have about what happens next, entitled Lost in the Wilderness.
I never made this world, I didn't even lose it, and I know no one said it was fair. But they had a garden once, they had the chance to choose it, they gave it away, including my share, and now we're lost in the wilderness, lost crying in the wilderness, and if anyone's watching, it seems they couldn't care less. We're lost in the wilderness. You follow all the rules, you follow all the stories, and every night you wish on a star, dreaming your day will come, trusting in allegories, and every morning, boy, look where you are, lost in the wilderness, lost, slowly dying in the wilderness, with no chance of living, boy, until you confess you're lost in the wilderness. Don't you ever watch the eagle fly to the sun and wonder
for the times they are a-changing. Friends, our service this morning and the sermon this morning is born out of our understanding that we live in changing times, in difficult and turbulent times, and we do feel lost in the wilderness sometimes, right? And this service it comes out of the questions that are on our hearts during these difficult times. And so in lieu of a typical sermon that I preach from the pulpit this morning, I've invited congregants over the last couple of weeks to email me the questions that are on their hearts in these times, in hopes that we might respond to them and together come to greater understanding. This is a chance for us to kind of take a little the spiritual temperature of the congregation, right? And to know, to hear one another's questions and to know that we're not alone in our questions. So that's our hope today. We received many more questions than we have time to answer today, but we've tried to select some representative questions, and we'll just kind of jump right in and see where we go. Also, you know, I've seen the questions, I've kind of slept on them, but I haven't scripted answers or anything. This is kind of more extemporaneous. It's more of a conversation, so that's how I'll do it.
Okay, let's start with question number 1. Rob, what or whom do you call upon during the most difficult times in your life to restore yourself and meet the challenges you face? What revives your faith in life and your own spirit?
I think this is a really important question for all of us to think about and to think on in these times, right? In times like these, we need to know to where can we turn for strength and solace for ourselves. For myself, I think I'd point briefly to 3 things. When I need to replenish my soul and when I'm in difficult times, the first place I turn is to the people I love, right? To my friends and my family and my loved ones. Breaking bread together, doing the things that give us joy together. This is what replenishes my soul. But sometimes in difficult times, sometimes when we're feeling down or lost, we have a tendency to kind of isolate ourselves, right? Right at the time when we need the love of others. And so I sometimes, as an introvert, have to push myself into to community and seek out the solace that it offers. I also am replenished in nature. My little doggie and I take walks in the park in the woods together. I go to Mount Auburn Cemetery and I watch the birds. My soul is restored in the peace and beauty of nature. There's an old American hymn that I'm thinking of. It's "Come Ye Disconsolate." And it says, "Earth hath no sorrow that heaven cannot heal." Maybe you know that phrase. Earth hath no sorrow that heaven cannot heal. The idea is that God is the answer to all the problems on earth. John Muir, the great naturalist, turned it around and said, "Earth hath no sorrow that earth cannot heal." Right? Nature can heal some of what ails us. But finally, and I think most importantly, there is a place inside of me that is a refuge and a source of strength and solace. And I think of it as the place inside myself where I can commune with the indwelling Spirit of God, Spirit of life. The Quakers would call it the inner light. We Unitarians call it the spark of the divine within us all. to find that place and to seek the solace and strength that comes from that communion within is the greatest source of strength in my life. And the thing about that is it's only available to us in difficult times if we when we cultivate that relationship throughout our lives, right? So through spiritual practice, through meditation, through prayer, we need to develop that relationship with that place inside of us. Otherwise, it's not going to be there for us when we need it. I'm not going to be able to spend that much time on all these questions, or we'll never get through them. Sorry, guys.
Thanks, Rob. A lot of questions this year were about how we discover our life's purpose. One person asked, "How do I know my purpose in life?" Another asked, "What kind of legacy can I aspire to leave when I die?" And then there's this one. "Rob, looking at my family tree, I expect to live for between 7 and 47 more years. How do I decide what to do with that time?"
7 and 47. Good. Thanks for those. I sometimes teach a class on death and dying, and the first exercise that I give people in that class is to write their own obituary. To talk about the things that they did and the people that they loved, the things they cared about. But I tell them that they have to write it as if today were the day that they died. And I get so much pushback on that. So much, gnashing of teeth and protests, right? Give me a little more time, people say, right? But it's a clarifying exercise. People are often surprised by the things that they write in their own obituary. Oh, it turns out this was important to me. I didn't realize that. Or, even more importantly, this is something I really thought I'd be able to write about in my life, but I haven't gotten there yet, right? And so that often can be insight into what we want from our life, and even our purpose in life. So try that exercise. And send me your obituary. If you do it, go ahead and send it to me. I'd love to take a look at it. We can talk about it. But purpose, just one thing. Purpose, my favorite quote on purpose of life. Frederick Buechner, the Presbyterian minister and author, says that our vocation in life, our purpose in life, comes at the place where our deep gladness meets the world's deep hunger. Where the thing that gives us great joy and meaning intersects with the hurting parts of the world. And there's this kind of sweet spot there, right? Where we find our purpose in life, right? And so that sweet spot, where our deep joy meets the world's deep hunger or deep need.
Thanks. Rob, I feel a great deal of despair with what's going on in our world. The cruelty towards trans people, immigrants, women, and children. I myself feel vulnerable and scared because I'm older, I live alone, and I'm currently in remission from acute myeloid leukemia. I'm in a vaccine trial funded by the NIH that may be ending as cancer research is threatened. It's hard to be resilient when there's so much suffering. I want to trust the better angels of our nature, but when I see the starvation and genocide in Gaza and Sudan, the war in Ukraine, I wonder, how can I make a contribution to my own little patch? What can we do?
This was the most common question. Some version of this question was the most common question asked. What can we do? And I think I want to point to the wisdom contained in that question itself. What can I do with my own little patch? I've sometimes preached from the pulpit. I'll sometimes say, start where you are and do what you can. Start where you are and do what you can. Take care of your own little patch. That's a place to start right now, right? We're a little church here, in Harvard Square. We're not going to save the world, right? But we are a church in Harvard Square, and on Tuesday and Wednesday nights, hungry people from Harvard Square come to our parlor to be fed, right? Most nights of the year, young homeless youth come here every night to find shelter and to sleep, right? We work regularly with our fellow Unitarians or with our interfaith partners in Greater Boston Interfaith Organization to try to make a difference here in Massachusetts, in Boston and Cambridge, right? Start where you are and do what you can. There's a great image, I'll just quickly share this. There's a great image that's come out of my other hometown is Washington, D.C. I'm just looking back there and seeing some dear friends of mine from All Souls Church in Washington, D.C. Good to see you guys. Smith family's here. You know what's going on in D.C., right? Martial law, right? A military takeover of my town. I'm going home tonight, and my son's going to school tomorrow, and he's afraid to take the bus because he's going right down U Street where all those tanks are, right? And there's an image that's come out of D.C. in this last week. Maybe you're aware of it. There were all these stops that were happening on the street late at night. People were coming out of the nightclubs and coming out of the restaurants or whatever, and ICE was stopping people. And one guy had just gone into the Subway sub shop, right? And he came out with a foot-long sub. Right? Did you read this story? Yeah. And he was in the middle of a big protest, and the ICE folks were there, and he didn't know what to do, and he took his sub and he hurled it at the federal agents. Now, I'm not saying the reason I'm sharing that story is not because I think we should be hurling projectiles at federal agents, but what he did, he's like, how am I going to resist? And he looked at what was at hand, right? I mean, he looked at what he had in his own hands, right? Start where you are and do what you can, right? So it's like, I'm not saying throw your hoagie at the ICE agent. I'm saying, notice and pay attention to what's at hand, what power you have, and use that for the resistance. There's now t-shirts you can get of the guy hurling the hoagie, like a heroic kind of hoagie hurl. Yeah. Anyways, yes. Start where you are and do what you can.
I was wondering if you could talk about navigating feelings of jealousy, insecurity, and envy. In a time when social media puts added pressure on people to look a certain way and do certain things and fosters comparison and competitiveness, I was wondering if there were any bits of advice you had to counter this with faith.
I know. Raise your hand if you've ever been up late at night, you couldn't fall asleep, and you just started scrolling through your Facebook feed, and you're like, look at all my friends and all these celebrities, and they've got these beautiful lives, and my life just doesn't, it doesn't meet up, right? Jealousy, envy, is like an ancient sin. It's like one of the oldest ones on the books, right? Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's, right? All the way back in the Ten Commandments. It's an ancient sin with a very contemporary profile, because there's a whole industry that's controlling much of our lives, whose very purpose is to colonize our attention and manufacture our discontent, right? And we give that power to them all the time, right? Every time we scroll through, we're handing over our power to them. We're allowing capitalism, if you will, to make us less free. And so the first thing I think we need to do is envy is not just a personal sin right now. It's a manufactured sin, and we need to recognize that, and we need to stop handing over our happiness to Facebook, right? And, how can we counter, well, I'm thinking of, Dante writes about envy in the Divine Comedy. And there's a special place in purgatory for the envious. And their punishment is that they have their eyes sewn shut so they can't see the blessings of their lives that are right before them. Right? But their ears are open so they can hear everyone else talking about their good lives, right? And I think Dante's, point is like, open your eyes to the blessings that are right before us. Tune out the chatter on your social media feed. Yeah.
We have 3 more questions, Rob. Do we have time for all 3?
We'll see. I'll
Okay.
be quick now. Yeah,
All
I'll be
right.
quick.
I'm not rushing you. These are big. Rob, what's your take on what happens to us after we die? If you could keep that to 3 bulleted points. The folk singer Iris Dement famously sings, "I think I'll just let the mystery be." Would you agree that's the best answer?
Yeah, I'm not sure we have any other choice but for that to be the answer. I've told some of you this story. One year, I was interviewed on public radio alongside another Unitarian minister, a colleague of mine. And it was around Easter, and the interview was about like different faiths and how they see Easter and the resurrection. And so at one point, the interviewer said to us, hey, what do Unitarians believe about life? Do Unitarians believe in life after death, was the question. And I was so glad my colleague took that answer on live radio, and not me. But without a beat, my colleague said, he said, do Unitarians believe in life after death? He said, Unitarians believe in life after birth. And he wasn't just being clever. He was clever, but it wasn't just being clever. He's saying that our faith is to put our trust and our faith in this life, the one that we've already been given, to see it as a gift, to believe that human fulfillment, that this life is enough for our fulfillment as human beings, right? To savor that gift. Some approaches to religion are all about equipping our souls for life in the by and by, right? In the great hereafter. I think Unitarians have a more modest but perhaps also important task, which is just to equip our souls for life now, in this world, this life, the only one that we know for sure that we're given. It's not to say what happens after the mystery. Thoreau, and some of you have heard me tell this story. Thoreau, there's a great story about our Unitarian ancestor, Henry David Thoreau, on his deathbed. His friend comes to him and is eager to know his experience as he's dying. And he says, Henry David, have you seen the other side? Have you seen the light on the other side? And Thoreau responds to his friend, one world at a time, friend. One world at a time.
This question is, what are we doing and what can we do to keep trans and queer people safe? To keep immigrants safe? And what can we do to be whole and complete in these troubled times? How can we care for ourselves and our loved ones when our government and society are separating us and tearing us apart? How can we heal the hole that is being ripped in our hearts? These questions are more felt than thought. These questions keep me up at night. These questions are the path to my salvation.
I think I want to let that question linger. especially that last line. These questions are the path to our salvation. You know, how we're going to care for one another, how we're going to heal the hole that's being torn inside us. In some ways, all the answers I'm giving today are answers to that question, right? But that insight that this is the path to our salvation. You know, it strikes me that, like, in traditionally, religion thinks of salvation as like, you know, am I going to be saved? But as universalists, right, we believe that we're all going to get saved in one, as one big happy family, or we're not going to get saved at all, right? Right? We're not going to heaven all by ourselves. We're gonna go together. That is the path of our salvation. And I loved the urgency in that question, and I love that last line. And we should think about what is the path to our salvation right now.
Rob, this is probably the last one we have time for this morning. This congregant wrote, "If you're feeling zen, Rob, then how about this question? What do we do with unanswerable questions?"
What do we do with unanswerable questions? In my line of work, all the good questions are unanswerable questions. I know I'm looking at some like engineers and like scientists and economists out here, and I know you all, you guys find your answers, but in my line of work, all the good questions are unanswerable, right? Because they're all an entree into the mystery of life. I sometimes say that life is a koan, not an exam, right? There are no right or wrong answers. It's just a spiritual puzzle that opens into deeper and deeper revelation. I think some people come to religion to find, I'll say, like the secret to life. Like the one revelation that is the key that unlocks all the truth and the secrets of life. And then I think it's the difference between a secret and a mystery. And then there are others who understand the religious life as a kind of a pilgrimage or a journey into mystery, right? Where the point isn't to find the secret or the answer or the one key, but to journey through a beautiful and mysterious and joyful land, and a suffering land, and to have meaning revealed as we walk together. Curious souls on an adventure of the Spirit is how I sometimes think of us on this journey. And so the best questions are. I used to call this service my Q&A sermon. And I realized I never gave any answers, so I couldn't call it a question and answer sermon anymore. I mean, that's the hubris. Now I just call it questions of faith, right? Because we're all walking this journey together, and the best I can do is extend my hand and say, "Come, walk with me." So thank you for this journey today. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for your questions. If I didn't get a chance to answer the questions that you submitted today, call me and let's make an appointment and let's talk about them. I'd love to do that. Thanks.
There's more life